we are talking today about tips and tricks and Business One shortcuts. So let's get started. We're going to talk about tips and tricks first. So today's tips and tricks presentation is in 3 parts. So we're going to talk about part 1, and it is in 4 parts. So let's get started and talk about setting up personalized FT shortcuts first, then relationship map, inventory audit report after that, and lastly, open items list to conclude. Then we'll jump back to part 2, and we'll conclude with part 3. So let's begin with our demonstration. So setting up personalized FT shortcuts. This is very handy and allows you to jump around very quickly to things that you do very commonly. And if you want to get started on this, you can go to Menu, Tools, My Shortcuts, and then Customize. What will happen when you do that is you'll see that this window pops open and you can see what items you've assigned to your customized shortcuts. And in this case, I've got 4 things assigned. Let's say we get rid of a few. Let's get rid of F2. And let's say we get rid of F3. And we'll reassign them to different things. Let's say we want to do some financial. Let's say we're a financial person and we want to do financial transactions fairly often. And let's say we do journal entries. So let's assign that to F3. So you can see that we select F3 in the shortcut, and we select modules, financials, and then over here in the window we select journal entry, and we'll allocate that. And you see up here, it selects the journal entry over here in the current window. And we've got journal entry. Then we can select F4, and let's say that we continue that we're a financial person. And let's say we do a lot of editing of accounts, chart of accounts. So let's say we edit and allocate that one as well. So now that we've done all that, let's get out of here, and we'll see how that affects our shortcuts. You can see that they have been set up here, and that I could click on this, right? But in fact I won't. Allow me to hit F3 now, and you'll see that journal entry pops up. Okay? If I hit F, one of the other F keys that we've set up, right? Okay? What happens when I hit F4? I'm not going to hit F4 here. Instead, I'm going to hit F4 here, and lo and behold, we get exactly what we'd expect. So that's a really handy way that if you're doing common features, common things, to get your Business One set up so that you can fly around very quickly and do common things. So now, what's item number 2? If you recall on the list, it was relationship map and how to unjumble it. Some people may not know what a relationship map is, and if you don't, it's a really handy tool. And if you do, how to unjumble it is a really handy, neat way to how to unjumble it when you if you see it when it isn't, if it is kind of all jumbled. And I'll show you what that is. So let's get started with that. I want to demonstrate with a purchase order. So let's go into find. Let's go in and get one first of all. So let's open up a purchase order. We'll go into find mode. Let's get a purchase order that I happen to create. Okay, you can see that in this case, we've got a purchase order. You can see that the one I selected is gold. The one that follows it is the invoice, and it's followed by an outgoing payments. You can see that this is the base document, the purchase order. The target document is the AP invoice, which again is followed by the outgoing payments. If you have a lot of AP invoices, they would normally be stacked, and if you have a lot of AP invoices that are stacked, you would double click them, and that would unjumble them. So that's the secret that I wanted to share with everyone, and that is that double clicking is the secret to unjumbling your relationship maps. So let's move on to the Inventory Audit Report. So, in our Inventory Audit Report, we can sometimes ask ourselves, what happened to this item? Or sometimes, pardon me, sometimes we might say, what is the history of this item? Maybe your boss might come over to your desk and, want to know what specifically the history of this item is in our system. So with the Inventory Audit Report, we can answer these two questions. So let's go ahead and show how we do this. So we'll click on Inventory, and then we'll click on Item Master Data. So we'll go Find, and we will now I'm right-clicking on this area right here, okay, and then we'll click on our Inventory Audit Report. Okay, now we don't see a lot right here, but if we click Expand, watch what happens. Okay, we get a lot of information here, an awful lot. This shows all of the inventory transactions that have occurred for this item. We can see what came in, what went out, what got reevaluated. It's a very handy and very powerful report that is quite useful for a lot of different items when you want to interrogate them one at a time. So it's quite handy. Keep that in the back of your mind. And again, the secret is to right-click on this area for any specific item that you need, and to go Inventory Audit Report. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the fourth item of our Part 1, and we're going to go to Open Items List. So there's several ways to get to our Open Items List. And, pardon me, there's one of the key responsibilities of someone who works with Business One is to monitor what's in their queue. If you're in sales, you'll have open sales orders. If you're in receivings, you'll have open goods receipts and open delivery documents. If you're in purchasing, you'd have open purchase orders that you need to monitor. So this is how you'll monitor them. Let's go and show that. So you click on Sales AR. Okay, and then you'll click Sales Reports, and you click on Open Items List. Okay, and you can see all of the sales orders here that are open. Now, if you're in purchasing, okay, you can do it a different way. Okay, you click on Purchasing, Purchasing Reports, Open Items List. Okay, and then here you would click on Purchase Orders. Okay, right here. And you can see all the purchase orders that are open in the system. Okay, if you're in inventory, you could do something similar. Let's go do that. Okay, Inventory Reports, Open Items List. You can see that we don't have any inventory transfer requests. Okay, but there are other inventory reports that we could run. Missing items happens to be a very powerful report that I'd like to speak about next, but that's part of part 2, and we'll get into that next. So let's introduce part 2 by going back to the slide, and we'll introduce that formally. So now, part 2 of tips and tricks. We'll speak of missing items. We're going to follow that by changing the item description on the sales order. We're going to reconcile across business partners. And then item 8 is really fancy. You guys are going to really like that, searching data and especially searching menu. You guys are going to get a real kick out of that. So let's continue with part 2. Okay? So missing items. So what's the idea with missing items, okay? The idea is that I've got a sales order for 20, but in fact I've got none at all. Or you've got items which are required for production orders, okay? The demand is greater than your supply. So we've got some columns here, and I'd like to discuss them, okay? This is what you've got, what you have. This is what you're gonna have. This is what you're committed, okay? So if you add this plus this, and you subtract your committed, this is what you've got over here. If you look at the math, this is how it works out. Okay. So using the open items list, which is already open, okay, we can find out what we've got negative availability for, and this is quite handy if you're figuring out what you need to make emergency. You need to make some emergency phone calls for it. So, kind of, you need to red flag some of these items. So from time to time, your boss might want to run this, or have you run this, and have you tell him what needs to be taken care of on an emergency basis. So now let's move on to item number 6, changing the item description on a sales order. So we'll go to Sales AR, and we'll open up the sales order. Okay. From there, we will choose a customer. Okay. After choosing a customer, we're going to choose a delivery date. And from here, let's choose a LaserJet printer. Okay. Now, let's say that we want to change this description for any number of reasons, right? And how are we going to do that? So let's just say that we want to give them a LaserJet printer. Okay. And the key here is to hit Control Tab. Okay. So I'm holding down the Control key and I'm hitting Tab to get out of there. And that's quite a little handy way to change your item description if you are doing a sales order and you don't want to give a ton of detail related to your master data. Okay? And what you do at the sales order level is, kind of dumb things down a little bit maybe, and then you hit the Add button, and lo and behold, you've got your sales order ready to give to your customer. Okay? So that's item number 6. Okay? Let's move on to item number 7, reconciling across business partners. Okay? So we have a customer who's called Coffee and Copies. Okay? They buy printers from us. But recently we've purchased some coffee from them. So now they are also a vendor. Okay? So what's happened with that? They owe us less because they purchased some coffee from us. We'd like to reconcile a small AR invoice for coffee against a much larger AP amount for laser printers. So what are we going to do? Let's go to Business Partners. Okay? And then we will click on Internal Reconciliation, followed by Reconciliation. and let's choose coffee and copies. Okay? And then from there, we'll click on Reconcile. Okay? And what are we going to do? We're going to reconcile the coffee that we bought from them against this much larger AP invoice. And we are going to specifically reconcile this amount. Okay? They have to balance. If they don't balance, it won't work. Notice that we had to select them over here. And what has happened now is that the amount that's owed is less. Okay? That's quite handy, and it works quite well. Now comes item number 8, the search data and search menu. And I promised you guys that this is a really, really nice one. So let me demo it. Okay? Here it is in the upper right-hand corner. You guys have seen this a lot, and maybe you've never used it. So now that I'm about to show it to you, I really hope you use it a lot. Okay? Let's search for some data, first of all. Let's search for the word printer. Okay? What will this search for? This will search for, through our master data, and it will come up with the word printer. So let's interrogate any one of our printers at random. You'll see that it will come up with some printers. Okay. Now it just happened to not come back with any of our business partners because, of course, none of our business partners have the word printer in them. But we do happen to have some business partners that happen to have the word coffee in them. So let's find that. Okay. To show you that our business partners are also searchable. Okay. Now, what I really like, and I promised you was really fantastic, is that if you only partly remember something in the menu, you can search for it. Okay. Notice what I did was the second one down here. Okay. You don't really need to remember the Control F3, but just remember that it's the second one down here, and this is really, really handy. Let's just say we want to search for the word journal because you don't remember where journal entry is, or document journal, or journal vouchers, or anything related to journal, right? You just click on this guy down here, right? This guy, and then you just type in journal. And from there, right, journal entry. It's really handy, really fast. And what else could we do? Let's look for the word chart, right? Chart of accounts, edit chart of accounts, it's all good. So in summary, data is handy and the menu is very, very handy. And with that, this concludes part 2. Okay? So now, here we are in part 3, tips and tricks. So what are we going to do? We're going to add a business partner in the journal entry. We're going to locate some journal transactions by an amount range. Okay, we're going to have to do some pretending for that. We're going to have to use our imagination. And then we're going to dive into the cockpit. And then lastly, we're going to do the toolbar. Tour o' the icons related to St. Patrick's Day. Tour o' the icons. So let's get started with that. And without haste, with haste, I should say. Let's conclude the demonstration. And then from there, we'll jump into shortcuts as promised. So this is, instead of bringing up the list of accounts in the journal entry, let's demonstrate how to bring up the list of business partners. Okay? So we'll go into financials. Okay? And we'll click on journal entry. And then we'll click on this first row, and let's say we have a miscellaneous expense, okay, right, and let's say we have got a short payment of $2, okay. Let's say that Coffee and Copies short paid us for any number of reasons for $2. okay? So what we're going to do is normally we would get, I just hit the tab key, we would get our list of accounts here, but what we want to do is, in this case, we want to hit Control tab, and we would get our list of accounts, our list of business partners. So what we do here is click Copy and Copies, and lo and behold, by hitting Control tab, this is very handy, we get our list of business partners, and then tab over, and look how handy our credit shows up automatically. So look at that. We add it, and we're done. Okay, so now let's locate our journal transaction by amount range. Okay, we're going to put on our pretend cap, first of all, okay? We're going to, I'm going to show you something that exists in the system, okay? And then I'm going to show you how to find it another way, right? So let's go about doing this by clicking on Financials, okay? Financial Reports, Accounting, there we go, General Ledger, okay, click on P code, we've got these guys all set up already, and in this case, okay, we're looking for an AR invoice, okay, that has the value of $649.50, okay, that has a posting date of August 12th, okay, and a due date of September 11th, okay. The offset name is Sales and Revenue, okay, and now what I need everyone to do is pretend that we know nothing about this except for the value, $649. Okay, so let's just pretend that we only know the $649.50, okay, but we're going to go and hunt it up, okay, so that's step one, and that's the imaginary step. So now, your boss comes to you and says, you know what, the $649, can you tell me about that? So, let's go to Financials, Reports, okay, Accounting, right? Locate journal entry, locate journal entry by account range, and here it is. We click on OK, and lo and behold, our value is in this list. It happens to be the last one, and we know that it's in this list, and we're good to go. All right? We can interrogate further, but we know that it's in this list. So now, we're going to talk about cockpits. Okay? Cockpits are one of the handiest things we can talk about. We have them right here. They can really shorten and help your life quite a bit. There's a number of cockpits that we can discuss. The way that they need to be enabled is at the company level, first of all. We go there by clicking Administration, System Initialization, General Settings, and over here on the Cockpit tab, we make sure that these two checkboxes are enabled. Okay? Then we set them up at the user level. Okay? What do we do there? We go Menu, Tools, Cockpit, Enable My Cockpit. Okay, and that will turn this on. Okay? Now, We have a number of predefined cockpits, and the predefined cockpits in this case are sales. You can see that we've got some sales cockpits. Let's skip to this guy. He needs to kind of get out of our way. We have one for service. Okay, he looks pretty good looking. We've got another one for finance. Okay, we can add some dashboards here if they need to be. Purchasing, if you're a purchaser, right? And then you've kind of got your own one that you can kind of set up. So here, look at, let's go home here and we can set up, using the widget gallery, we can go to open documents, right? We've discussed open documents a little bit. And we can go settings, and let's turn on some of these open documents. Okay, let's turn on purchase orders. All right. And we can see that we've got 35 purchase orders. Look at that, pretty handy. So this is how cockpits work. Okay. So now let's move to our last topic. Okay. Let's talk about toolbars. We're going to go across, and we're not going to talk about them all, but let's talk about some of them. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is print preview. So in order to print preview, let's have a few things open. And let's, for example, open a sales order. And let's print preview it. And the neat thing about print preview is that it's very handy for exporting to PDF, but even more handy than print previewing to PDF is the find feature. Okay. So in order to find, okay, where's my find? Don't see my find. Yeah. Okay. Let me show you the print instead. If you'd like to have a hard copy, just click the print button, and you can have your hard copy. If you want to email something, okay, and you want to attach it, let's click no to that. We can enter the email address, and I'll put my email. Okay. The data tab tells the audience the row that reflects the state of the sales order. The attachment tab we can click the attachment tab and we can browse. So if we want to attach a sales order, let's click this one here. Okay, we can attach documentation that supports our sales order in this case, right? And then of course we can send this. Let's move on to the SMS icon. This isn't supported in Canada. Moving on to fax. We need to set up a fax server before this is supported. So we do not have a fax server set up, so let's skip over this one. Now, Microsoft Excel. Let's click this Excel button, and then we can we can click the Save button, and this would save our sales order to Excel. I think everybody's seen what Excel does, and we can see how it would work. Another good thing how Excel works is, let's see if we can get a query, right? A BP list. We could export these columns to Excel, right? So by clicking on Excel, we would export this table to Excel, right? Microsoft Word. Okay, so we do not have Microsoft Word installed on our demo server, so we cannot directly show you what happens when we click on the Microsoft Word icon today. However, we can show you the results in a moment. So we're going to show you that very briefly. The PDF icon. Let's show you what happens when we click on that. As you might expect, it will make a PDF document of the regular document of what you're showing. It doesn't make PDFs of things that are particularly complicated. It will not work for queries. For example, I just was doing the query of, pardon me. And we do not have a PDF available for this guy. So let's go down here and we see that we do have a PDF available. Right? So PDF is kind of handy. It works quite well. Now, I want to show this launch application. Okay? This guy is underutilized and is quite powerful if properly utilized. Okay? Calc. Look what we've got here. We've got a calculator within Business One. Everybody's used calc.exe. Well, that's exactly what he is, right? If you want to go to a company folder that you often go to, right? Look what I've set up, right? Okay. You can do a number of different things. Okay. Go to websites. In addition, I'd like to indicate now, at this point, I said we can show you what the Word would look like in a moment. Well, a moment has now come, and this is what Word would look like if it were to have worked, if we had it installed. I PDF'd it, and I'm kind of tricking it out right now. So this is what our Word document would look like. Okay? And you can see all of this capability is from this little interface. Right? Kind of cute and kind of handy. And, you know, you just type in something like this. Calc, excuse me, and calc.exe. Look at this, test run. It's that easy. It's that easy. So if anyone cares to enable that, you can really save yourself a lot of time. This is quite the handy tip and trick. Okay? Not sure how valuable this is, lock screen. I suppose it's somewhat valuable if you want to get away from your computer. Not sure why you wouldn't necessarily hit Control-Alt-Delete on your Windows screen, but you know, maybe you need to lock your screen. So you lock your screen and then you just simply unlock it. You're good to go. So next. Now we want to do a find And if we want to do a find, I'm sure everybody knows that, you click the binoculars icon, and the star or asterisk is very good for finding everything. So please lock that in the back of your mind, right? Clicking the binocs with the star, deadly combination, right? What else can we do? Right? We can look for right? We can look for our old friend coffee and copies. Now, what else can we do? We can move into, let's try adding something, right? Let's use master data in this case. So the master data that we will add is an item master. So let's add something, and in this case, let's add a thingamajig, okay? So what we will do is we will give it an item number, right? Because we need an item number, and we'll add thing jig. Okay. Now there's other information that we need to add as well, but it's important to kind of appreciate what needs to be added. I'm just going over this, but that's your add icon, okay? And that's how it works. Now let's click over. Next is your last data record, okay? And what does this do? That takes you to item 1, okay? This item takes you to your previous record. So if you're at any given record, say like item 7 or 8, it will take you to the one that is previous to that. This one will take you to the next one. Let's see if we can get. Let's use a better example. Let's use a sales order. In fact, let's focus on this item right here. So we can go back one, right? Focusing on this one, we can go back to the first, right? We can go to the next one, and in this case, we can go to the last, right? So we're getting close to the end of what I wanted to demonstrate related to the tour of the icons. So the next thing that I wanted to discuss is the shortcuts. So now let's go back to pardon me. Let's go back to PowerPoint. And now let's talk about some of our shortcuts that we can use. Okay? We were just talking about some of these things, adding and finding and using the different icons for this type of capability. So how can you do this using the keyboard? And these are this is the capability that you can instead of using the mouse and the icons, instead you can use your keyboard. So sometimes it's faster to use your keyboard. And if you care to take a screenshot right now, now would be the time to do that. And these are the secrets for that. So this is the first half of our shortcuts. The next half of our shortcuts are these. If you are ever entering dates, sometimes it's really slow to enter dates. And if you want to do the fast version of dates, here it is. You can enter today's date by clicking in any date field that has a calendar associated with it, and typing in the T character. And then by tabbing out of it, it will automatically enter today's date. The next thing is if you want to enter a date in the current month. So today is March 19th. 2 days after St. Patrick's Day, you can enter in, let's say you want to enter in tomorrow, which is March 20th, so you type in 20, right, and that's all you need to enter, and it will enter in March 20th. So that's something that's pretty handy. You just type in two digits, and it will take the current month and the current year. The next shortcut that's very important, but it has something that comes with a warning, is that you can enter in the current day and month, and it will enter in exactly what you would expect. Now, of course, you can enter in the month and the day, or the day and the month, depending on settings, right? But note, with this double star at the bottom here, be careful when you are in December, okay, and you're entering dates for January, okay, because it will assume January of the current year. And of course, that goes vice versa, right, if you're going backwards. Okay? And then lastly, if you want to enter any given date, let's say, you want to enter in tomorrow's date using the full length, so that you want to make sure that you don't get it wrong. You would enter, what you see, 20/03/14, and that's the full long shortcut to make sure that there's no ambiguity of the exact date that you enter. So with that, I now would like to wrap up and pose any questions. And in addition to asking any questions, I would also like to see if anyone has any tips or tricks of their own or shortcuts. And
so I unmuted everybody. And so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them. If there's anything that you can put it in chat or you can talk. And if you have any tips or tricks of your own that you guys use on a daily basis, please feel free to share. Anybody have any questions at all?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding the launch applications, I was trying to add calc.
okay, so you click on the new button, and then all you need to do is type in calc, and then in the file name, calc.exe, and then try test run.
Okay, perfect. Works this time.
Yeah, great.
Awesome, thanks.
You can do a website, any website, by putting in the http://. You can put in any file path name, right?
Okay.
Or file name. In fact, do you see how I've got the file name highlighted there?
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else have any other questions? Or anything to share?
If anyone has any questions that they think of a little later, okay, here's my email address. Okay.
I actually, sorry, that was Robert, right?
Andrew Robert.
Andrew. Okay.
No worries.
So I have another question. When I run a P&L in SAP and then I try to print it, I don't know if it's just the settings, but it prints the whole report when I select an optional current page only. So I don't know if you can answer that question here or not, but that was an issue I was having.
Okay.
I don't want to print the whole entire P&L, like 40 pages. I just want one page, and it just gives me the whole report.
Okay. I haven't run into that problem myself.
Maybe we can investigate it.
Yeah, I can look into that and get back to you on that. What is your name?
It's Adil.
Okay.
Adil Tender.
Okay. Yeah. I saw your name in the registration list. So to print one page out of 40.
Yeah.
And Otto, what's the recording level you're using? Are you recording at level 1, 2, 3, 4? It doesn't matter, I guess, right?
4. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Just go get print, select one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm selecting an option from the print menu for current page, but still goes and prints the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Might just be a selector. We'll just double check that, and Andrew will get an answer back to you.
Yeah, that'd be my pleasure.